Hey there, how's it going? This is going to be a video going over how to build hyper-targeted lead lists for outbound, mainly cold email, specifically for SaaS companies. I think there's a few things that are a little different in running something for a service-based offer compared to running something for a SaaS, for a software offer. We're going to touch on it all in this video and how to build these lists in these databases super easily, super quick. Let's go. First things first, table of contents. I will link the video in the description if you want to read through this yourself. It'll be right there for you. So the first thing, going over some kind of list building principles. So think about it like this, right? You can have the greatest offer in the world. You can have the best product in the world. Your SaaS can be absolutely insane, right? It can be the best thing ever. It can be the saving grace to the customers that use it. But if you're reaching out to the wrong people who don't want or need your product, it's a lot like trying to sell water to a fish, right? So if I try to visualize this, right, this is going to be a terrible drawing, but your list has to be the number one thing above everything else. And then comes, you know, the offer, right? Then comes, copy, and then your subsequences and everything else comes after the list. But if you're reaching out to the wrong people in the first place, it's pointless, right? Like it doesn't matter how good your product, your service is, anything like that, right? So here are some general principles for building killer lists. We're going to kind of go through this one by one in the different areas that I think are most important. Starting off with where, okay? You need to make sure you're using the right databases to find people that might be interested in your stuff. Now, your go-to for the majority of lists that you're going to scrape is going to be from Apollo. You've probably heard of Apollo. Some pros, and I'm going to be completely honest with these databases. I don't have any affiliate stuff, so this is just going to be complete honesty about them. With Apollo, some of the pros, I think it's the biggest and it's probably the most widely available. It's pretty cheap, especially if you use third-party scrapers. And you can find like literally anybody on here. I think it has, it tells you right here, 275 million. It's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people. So definitely the biggest database, I believe, probably the most widely available price-wise. It's probably going to be your go-to for the majority of your list. At least it is for me. Some of the cons, though, heavily saturated. Like when you have something like this, it's not very high barrier to entry in terms of pricing. It's heavily saturated, and these leads have 99% been hit up before, right? The filtering on it is relatively generic. If you have some of the higher paid versions, you can get pretty specific in terms of things like funding and of hiring filters and employee whatever. But as a general census, pretty generic stuff and heavily saturated. So good for kind of base level stuff. If you're running a lot of volume, it's good as well. But if you want something a little more specific, a little more kind of higher class, Apollo is not going to be for you. Next up, ListKit. So ListKit, I found it to be a little more diverse with filtering. You can be a little bit more specific with technologies. I found it's better with. They have good hiring filters that I use for certain campaigns a lot. And the biggest difference is that these leads are 100% verified. So what this means is that with Apollo, these leads that you scrape aren't going to be valid emails. What you have to do is take all of this data and run it through a whole bunch of cleaning tools, basically, to make sure that you're sending emails to actual people and not landing in spam, blah, blah, blah. So you can ruin your domains if you don't clean your data when you get it from Apollo. The thing with ListKit is that they do this for you. And so because of this, it's a bit more expensive. If you're trying to send super high volume, it can get a little bit expensive, but they do that whole cleaning process for you, which is a very, very nice add-on. In my campaigns, I've typically found that ListKit leads have a bit of a higher bounce rate than Apollo. Again, just personal preference. And as well as Apollo, you'll probably find that same problem with most of these leads being saturated, right? Like, again, if we're trying to visualize this, right? Like you're pulling these, since there's a low barrier to entry for, if this is Apollo and A for Apollo, and this is ListKit here, right? Like you're pulling from these same leads that exist in both platforms, and because they're not that expensive, so many people can reach out to these. these leads, and you're gonna find that a lot of them get annoyed because they get the same offers thrown in front of them. A lot of their stuff is pretty commoditized. That's probably something you'll see when using these two platforms, but this next platform kind of solves that problem for you, which is Zoom Info. Now, some of the pros, these leads should be more exclusive, right? So this platform is the most expensive by far. I believe I have to check, but I think it's like 350 bucks a month or something like that. I found them to be a little bit more selective with filters and technologies to use to build laser targeted lists. But like I said, it's pretty expensive. So if you're just trying to, run outbound on a bit of a smaller scale, you're not really, you're not really, sending as much. You're not really as focused on it for bringing you and your company new business. Maybe these two are a bit more better bet for you. But in terms of if you're really trying to, number one, get in touch with some more exclusive leads and have some super specific filtering on who you're reaching out to, Zoom Info is probably your best bet. And I just kind of explained this here, but no matter which platform you think kind of best fits you and your company's needs, it should be one of these three, and they're all good. Like, you can't really go wrong with whatever you choose. These are just the three I've used myself, I have some familiarity with, and they've been great for me. So the next thing is going to be about specificity in your list, right? So there's a fine line for building the ICP that you want to reach out to and building an excessively targeted list, which actually hurts your ability to send a high volume of outbound. So here's an example, right? I made a list targeting COOs and head of ops roles at US based ecom companies doing between $1 million and $50 million per year in rev. Cool, right? This is an example of what I would say is a very strong list. It's specific enough that the copy and the language that you use can be relevant and shows that you're doing some kind of research into certain roles. You're not just blasting this across to a whole bunch of different roles, so a bunch of different industries, but it's not too specific that you don't even have a TAM, which is total addressable market, just the amount of people that you can reach out to. Here's two examples of really bad targeting. I made a list targeting out. That's a typo. I made a list targeting CEOs at marketing agencies. Great. That's going to be an absolutely massive list. And that's also so generic that you're not really going to have any leverage in the angles and the copy that you use, because what are you going to say to that person that is relevant to their role in their company? Think of all the ideas that I can come up with when I'm writing specifically to chief operating officers and head of operations at US based ecom companies. Like, there's so many things that you can play on and touch on that you can't do with something generic like this. On the other hand, if I say, I made a list targeting head of overseas marketing strategies at law firms located in Brooklyn. Like, how many people fit that role? Maybe a few hundred, maybe. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, the first example sucks because it's way too broad. The second example sucks because you're probably 10K is very generous. You're probably not even going to get 10,000 people that fit this kind of list, right? You will burn through this list of people so fast, it's going to ruin your chances of getting any success with outbound, right? So finding a balance in the middle of having enough of a total addressable market to be able to consistently reach out to people, and then also being specific enough to speak to a particular person's pain points. And you can do this by having, specific job roles, specific industries, specific company size, things like that are the easiest way to get some sort of an angle and a leg up on things that you can touch on in your copy. Now, I'm going to go over some specific things for software that I've found. So list building for SaaS, right? One of the things that I like doing and running outbound specifically for software companies is using and leveraging certain technologies that companies already use to search by. And here's why, right? What I've found from speaking with clients of mine and just being in the market a little bit, the reality of most SaaS platforms is that there is something out there that already exists that is similar to the platform you're trying to sell. If we refer back to our list of databases that I just explained, they can all be lumped under one category of lead databases, right? Even though I just went in and explained the intricacies of each of them. I told you why Apollo was different than Listkit, which was different than Zoom Info, right? Because of this, one of the best ways that I've found to distinguish your SaaS and outbound is head-on comparisons of competition in the market of why your SaaS is better. Now, how do we do this, right? When building lists, we can search specifically by companies using your competitors' platforms and then leverage your platform as being the better alternative and why. So here's a quick example, right? Let's pretend we're running cold outbound for Listkit, which was that data platform that I just mentioned about 5 minutes ago. Here's an example of an email script we could write. Hey Ryan, I saw that you and your team use Apollo for your data sourcing. Our platform is similar to Apollo, except we triple verify all of our leads to give you more accurate, cleaner data in a tenth of the time they do. Mind if I send over more info? Like, this is an absolute gold mine for directly comparing you and your competitors head on and pointing out the small differences as to why you're better. And since in your search, you're using the technology filter, you know that they're in the market for a product and platform like yours because they're already using something like it. So all you're doing is coming to them and saying, hey, I see that you're using this. We are similar to this platform, but we're better because of one, two, three, four. And you name your whatever reasons why you're better. And that's the best strategy that I've found in getting people to conceptualize how your SaaS, how your platform can help, and comparing it head on with competition that is more well known and that already exists and that these companies are already using in the market. And you can do that through these databases, which is pretty cool stuff. So inside of Apollo, you can use the technologies filter right here. They have a whole lot of stuff. You should be able to find majority of tech tools in there. And then in list kit, same idea here. Use the technologies filter and you can search for whatever. So I know this has kind of been a lot. At this point, you should know the importance of list building, particularly in SaaS. Know the major databases that you can use and the pros and cons for each. Know about select filters that you can use for building precise lists. Know the importance of the technologies filter and the different ways that you can use it, especially for SaaS, and be fully ready to hop into your favorite database and build a killer list. But just as a cherry on top, I made a full video going into Apollo and building the list that I mentioned above, which was a list of COOs and head of ops roles at US-based e-com companies doing between $1 million and $50 million rev. And I made a video of me actually going into Apollo and actually building a list that is fully live that you can copy if this is the kind of market that you wanna target. And I just go in and do the whole thing there. So this video will be in the document in the description if you want to take a look at that. Now, my offer to you, right? So I hope this kind of helped you understand how to find and use databases to craft killer lists for your SaaS product. Now, you could go and do all this if you wanted to. I've pretty much just given you A to Z on how to do so. But my offer to you, in case you want this process applied to you in your business, completely hands off, I'll go and build you a list of 5,000 of your ideal prospects, clean all of the emails, and verify them so they're 100% ready to be safely sent. And I'll write a 4-step cold email sequence for you to use right away. So all you have to do is literally plug what I have already created for you into your campaign and let them run for just $397. And this covers the entire cost as well of the data scraping and of the cleaning. If you want me to do this for you and your business, just DM me on LinkedIn or on Twitter and just say list, and I can give you all the details on how we can help. I hope this video helped. List building is super important. You need to do it. You need to do it well. So my name is Ryan. I run Breakout Creatives. We help companies build completely cold outbound funnels, particularly SaaS businesses. If that's something that you're interested in, go there and take a look. If not, keep enjoying my stuff. Hope this helps, guys. Have a great day.